Captain Veltar moved slowly through the water-filled corridors of his ship, the Harmony's Edge. His blue skin rippled with calm patterns as he checked the daily reports. Everything looked normal. The research vessel had been studying the pretty, nebula clouds for 3 weeks now. His people, the Veltari, loved to explore and learn about space. This mission was supposed to be safe and peaceful. The ship carried 847 souls. Most were scientists who studied stars and space dust. Some brought their families along for the long journey. Children played in the recreation areas while their parents worked. Everyone felt happy and secure in this quiet part of space. Veltar's gills fluttered as he breathed the ship's water-rich air. He had been a captain for 20 years. He knew how to keep his people safe. This area of space seemed empty and boring. No pirates came here. No wars happened here. It was perfect for research. The communication officer, Liran, swam up to him quickly. Her pattern showed worry. "Captain, we have strange readings on long-range sensors, multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace." Veltar's skin changed to orange, stripes of concern. "How many ships?" 20, maybe more. "They're big, Captain. Much bigger than us." The captain rushed to the bridge. His crew was already working hard at their stations. The main screen showed dots of light growing larger. Each dot was a ship. Each ship was 10 times bigger than the Harmony's Edge. "Sir," called the sensor officer, "I'm reading sectari energy. Signatures." Fear shot through Veltar's body. His skin turned dark purple. The sectari were the worst pirates in this part of the galaxy. They were bug-like creatures who loved to hurt others. They took prisoners and sold them as slaves. They showed no mercy to anyone. "All hands, battle stations," Veltar ordered. But he knew it was hopeless. His research ship had no real weapons. They had only basic shields to protect against space. Orcs, the sectari fleet, could destroy them in minutes. The enemy ships moved closer. They were ugly things, covered in spikes and armor. Each one looked like a giant insect made of metal and hate. The biggest ship was 5 times the size of the Harmony's Edge. It had enough weapons to destroy a small planet. "They're jamming our communications," reported Liran. Her voice shook with fear. "I can't reach the Veltari fleet. I can't reach anyone." Veltar watched the enemy ships surround his vessel. Soon they would board his ship. They would take his people away to be slaves. The children would never see their homes again. The scientists would work in enemy mines until they died. There was nothing he could do to stop it. "Wait," Liran called out. "I found one frequency that's still clear. It's an old emergency channel, very basic, but it works." The captain's hope returned a little. "Send a distress signal. Tell everyone we need help. Send our position." "Sir, this channel reaches very far, but no one patrols this area. The chances of rescue are very small." "Do it anyway," Veltar said firmly. "We must try." Meanwhile, many light years away, the human colony ship New Sol traveled through space. The huge ship carried 12,000 people to their new homeworld. They had been traveling for months. Most people were sleeping in cold storage pods to save space and food. Li Hyun sat at his communication station on the bridge. He was young but very good at his job. His job was to listen for signals from other ships. Usually, space was quiet. Sometimes he heard messages between trading ships or military patrols. Tonight felt different. A weak signal came through his equipment. It was broken and hard to understand, but he could tell it was a cry for help. Someone was in terrible danger. "Captain Park," Hyun called across the bridge. "I'm getting a distress signal. It's very weak, but it sounds urgent." Captain Park Jun was a strong man with kind eyes. He had led his people through many dangers during their long journey to the stars. He walked over to Hyun's station and listened to the signal. The message was clear despite the static. "This is Captain Veltar of the Velthari research vessel Harmony's Edge. We are under attack by sectari raiders, 20 enemy ships. We have 847 civilians on board, including many children. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help immediately. We cannot hold out much longer." Park's face became serious. He knew about the sectari. They were monsters who hurt innocent people for money. He also knew his mission was to take his people to their new home safely. His orders were clear. Avoid all fights, protect the colonists. But he also knew what kind of man he was, what kind of people humans were. How many enemy ships? He asked. The signal says 20, sir. All of them warships. Park looked around his bridge. His officers waited for his decision. They all knew the risks. If they helped, they might lose their own ship. They might never reach their new home. Sir, said Tactical Officer Kim Nari, our military escort could handle maybe 5 enemy ships. 20 is too many. It would be suicide. Chief Engineer Choi Day spoke up from his station. Captain, we have families on this ship, children. We can't risk them for strangers. Park understood their concerns. A good captain protects his own people first. That was the smart choice, the safe choice, the logical choice, but it wasn't the human choice. How long until we reach the battle? Park asked. 4 hours at maximum speed, sir. And how long do they have? Hyun listened to the signal again. He could hear weapon fire in the background. Someone was screaming. Maybe 2 hours, Captain. Maybe less. Park closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about the children on the enemy ship. He thought about the scientists who just wanted to study stars. He thought about his own daughter, safe in her sleeping pod. Then he thought about what it meant to be human. Signal all ships in the fleet, Park ordered. All vessels change course immediately. Maximum burn toward the distress signal. Sir? Nari asked. Are you sure? Park looked at her with steady eyes. We're not the kind of people who let innocent families die while we watch. Send the signal. Across the fleet, 16 other ships received the message. Some carried more colonists. Others carried supplies and equipment. 3 were military ships with real weapons and trained soldiers. Not one captain questioned the order. Not one ship refused to help. They all turned toward danger because strangers needed them. In space, the human fleet changed direction like a spear thrown at its target. They pushed their engines harder than ever before. Time was running out for the people they had never met but were already dying to save. Admiral Kang Soo stood on the bridge of the Busan Rising, the largest human warship in the fleet. The massive dreadnought was built for war. Its thick armor could stop most weapons in the galaxy. Its guns could destroy enemy ships from very far away. Right now, all that power was racing toward a battle they might not win. The admiral was old but strong. He had fought in many wars before humans left Earth. He knew how to lead soldiers and how to win battles. But he also knew when the odds were bad. 20 enemy ships against 3 human warships was not good odds. Sir, called his tactical officer, we have full scan data on the enemy fleet. They're using standard sectari battle formation. Heavy cruisers in the center, fighters on the outside. Kang studied the enemy formation on his screen. The sectari were good fighters. They had better shields than humans. Their weapons were more advanced. But they had one weakness. They thought like insects. They followed patterns and never changed their plans. What about the other human ships? Kang asked. The Inchin's Pride and Daegu Hammer are staying close. All 3 ships will arrive together. The admiral nodded. 2 battle cruisers and 1 dreadnought. Not enough firepower for a normal fight. But this wouldn't be a normal fight. Humans never fought normal fights. On the colony ship New Seoul, Captain Park was meeting with his senior officers. The ship's conference room was small but comfortable. Kim Nari spread tactical data across the table. Chief Engineer Choi Day showed power readings from their engines. The good news is we'll arrive before the enemy finishes boarding the Velthari ship, Nari reported. The bad news is we're still badly outnumbered. Park looked at the data. The Sectari had more ships, better weapons, and stronger shields. On paper, the humans should lose badly. But humans had never cared much about what looked good on paper. What can we do with the colony ships? Park asked. Choi smiled. That's where it gets interesting, Captain. We have mining equipment, rock crushers, industrial lasers, metal cutters. None of it was meant for fighting, but we can make it fight, Park finished. He knew his people well. Humans were good at making tools into weapons. It was one of their oldest skills. Dr. Lim So, the chief medical officer, spoke up from her corner of the table. I'm preparing all medical bays for casualties, both our people and the aliens we're rescuing. I don't know much about Veltari biology, but we'll figure it out. Park appreciated her confidence. Human doctors were used to working with limited information. Earth had been a dangerous world. People got hurt in new ways all the time. Human medicine was very good at fixing things quickly. Meanwhile, on the military carrier Incheon's Pride, Marine Colonel Bae Jun was talking to his soldiers. The ship's hangar bay was full of armed Marines in combat armor. Their weapons were loaded. Their faces were serious but calm. "Listen up," Bae called out. "We're going to board enemy ships and rescue civilians. This is what we train for. This is what we're good at." The Marines listened carefully. They had all grown up on Earth, a world that tried to kill everything that lived there. They were used to dangerous situations. They were used to fighting things bigger and meaner than themselves. "Remember," Bae continued, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for families trapped on that alien ship. Kids who want to see their parents again. Scientists who just wanted to study stars. Make every shot count." The Marines shouted their agreement. They checked their weapons and equipment one more time. Soon they would board small ships and fly into battle. Many of them might not come back. None of them cared. Someone needed help, and humans always answered. On the engineering deck of the New Soul, teams of workers were busy changing mining tools into weapons. Commander Nam Gil directed the work. His people were good at building things. They were even better at breaking things when they needed to. "Take those rock cutters and mount them on the hull," Nam ordered. "Wire them into the main power grid. I want them ready to fire in 2 hours." "Sir," called out a young engineer, "these weren't made for space combat. They might overload or explode." Nam grinned. "Then we'll fix them after they explode. That's what engineers do." All across the human fleet, people were working fast. Doctors prepared for wounded patients. Soldiers checked their weapons. Engineers turned peaceful tools into instruments of war. Everyone knew their job. Everyone was ready to risk their lives for strangers. This was what made humans different from other species in the galaxy. Most aliens thought carefully before taking action. They studied problems for months. They asked their governments for permission. They calculated the costs and benefits of every decision. Humans just acted. When someone needed help, they helped. When evil was winning, they fought. It was simple and pure and terrifying to their enemies. Commander Yoon Ia, the fleet's communication officer, was coordinating between all 17 human ships. Messages flew back and forth as captains shared plans and resources. No one was in overall command except for the simple human instinct to protect innocent life. "All ships report ready," Yoon announced to Captain Park. "Weapons modified and operational. Marines loaded and standing by. Medical facilities prepared for massive casualties." Park looked out at the stars rushing past his ship. Somewhere ahead, alien families were fighting for their lives against monsters. In less than 2 hours, they would know if humanity's first contact with galactic civilization would be a rescue or a disaster. "Send a message to Admiral Kang," Park ordered. "Tell him the colony ships will support however we can. We didn't come to the stars to hide when good people needed help." The message reached the Admiral quickly. Kang read it and smiled. He had been worried about protecting 17 civilian ships during a battle. Now he realized the civilian ships were going to help him fight. Only humans would turn a colony expedition into a rescue fleet. Fighter pilot Lieutenant Han Min was strapping himself into his combat fighter on the Incheon's Pride. His small ship was fast and deadly. He had trained for years to fly it in combat, but this would be his first real battle. "All pilots, this is Colonel Song Ri," came the voice over his radio. "We're going up against 20 enemy ships to save 847 innocent aliens. The odds are bad, but we're humans. Bad odds just make us fight harder." Han checked his weapons one more time. His fighter carried missiles and laser cannons. Not much compared to a battleship, but he was a human pilot. He could make those weapons count. As the human fleet approached the battle zone, sensors picked up the Velthari distress signal getting weaker. The enemy was almost finished boarding. Soon, there would be nothing left to rescue, but the humans were coming. They were coming fast and angry and ready to show the galaxy what happened when someone threatened innocent people while humans were watching. The 17 ships of the human fleet flew through space like arrows shot from Earth itself, carrying with them all the fury and compassion of a species that had never learned to ignore a cry for help. Admiral Tekvash clicked his mandibles together as he watched his Sectari warriors board the alien research ship. The insectoid commander had led many raids like this one. Take the ship, capture the crew, sell them as slaves. It was simple work that paid well. His 20 warships surrounded the helpless Velthari vessel. The aquatic aliens had no real weapons and weak shields. Their ship was full of scientists and families. Perfect targets for the slave markets on Kepler Station. Admiral, buzzed his sensor officer, I'm detecting multiple ships approaching our position. Tekvash's compound eyes focused on the tactical display. 17 ships were coming toward them at high speed. The energy signatures were strange, not matching any known military patterns in his database. Probably traitors running away from the battle, he decided, or scavengers hoping to pick up scraps after we finish. Ignore them. This was a mistake that would cost the Sectari dearly. On the human dreadnought Busan Rising, Admiral Kang watched the enemy fleet through his sensors. The Sectari ships were focused on their boarding operation. They had no idea what was about to hit them. All weapons charged and ready, sir, reported his weapons officer. Target the ships furthest from the civilian vessel, Kang ordered. We don't want to hit our people by accident. The Busan Rising opened fire from 200,000 kilometers away. The massive kinetic cannons launched metal slugs the size of cars at 15% of light speed. To the human crew, it looked like streaks of light reaching across space. To the Sectari, it looked like death itself. 2 Sectari cruisers exploded instantly. The kinetic slugs punched through their shields like they weren't there. The armor plating that protected them from most weapons crumpled like paper. One ship broke in half. The other simply vanished in a ball of fire. What was that? Tekvash screamed at his bridge crew. His warriors were scrambling to their battle stations, but they had never seen weapons like this before. Unknown weapon type, Admiral. Massive kinetic impact, no energy signature before firing. 3 more human ships opened fire. The battle cruisers Inchan's Pride and Daegu Hammer added their guns to the barrage. More Sectari ships exploded or suffered critical damage. In 30 seconds, the raiders had lost 6 ships, but the humans were just getting started. Fighter squadrons launched from the human carrier. Lieutenant Han Min flew his small fighter through the debris of destroyed enemy ships. His radio crackled with orders from Colonel Song Ri. All fighters, remember the mission. We're here to save civilians. Precision strikes only. Don't let any Sectari escape to hurt more innocent people. Han locked his weapons onto a Sectari boarding ship attached to the Veltari vessel. His missiles flew straight and true, cutting the enemy ship away from the research vessel without damaging the hull. The Sectari inside were sucked into space. Inside the Veltari ship, Captain Veltar couldn't believe what his sensors were showing. The strange ships had appeared like angels of war. They were destroying the Sectari fleet with weapons he had never seen before. Who are they? Asked his communication officer Liran. I don't know, Veltar replied, but they came because we asked for help. Marine boarding parties from the human ships were cutting through Sectari vessels with frightening skill. Captain, Songru led her troops through the zero-gravity corridors of an enemy cruiser. The Sectari warriors tried to fight back, but they had never faced anything like human marines. The humans moved through damaged ships like they were walking in a park. Toxic atmosphere didn't slow them down. Their suits recycled poisoned air. Gravity failures didn't stop them. They had trained in zero-G since childhood. Radiation that would kill most species just made them more determined. Sector 7 clear, Song reported to her commander. 17 Sectari prisoners secured. Moving to rescue Velthari civilians in Sector 8. Colonel Baijun was coordinating 6 different boarding actions while fighting his own battle on the Sectari flagship. His Marines had taken control of the engine room and were working their way toward the bridge. Remember, he told his troops over the radio, we want prisoners alive when possible. These bugs might have information about other raids, other innocent people who need help. This confused the Sectari greatly. Most species in the galaxy fought to kill their enemies completely. The idea of showing mercy to defeated foes was alien to creatures who had never shown mercy themselves. On the colony ship New Sol, the improvised weapons were firing at long range. The industrial mining lasers cut through enemy armor like hot knives through butter. Captain Park watched his civilian crew operate weapons they had never trained with, hitting targets they had never practiced shooting. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, 7, reported Kim Nari. Their weapons are offline. Chief Engineer Choi Dae was grinning as he watched his modified equipment work. Those rock cutters are performing better than I hoped. We might want to keep them as permanent weapons. Dr. Lim So was already receiving the first casualties. Wounded Marines were brought to her medical bay along with injured Velthari civilians rescued from the boarding parties. She had never treated aquatic aliens before, but she adapted quickly. Their blood chemistry is similar to Earth dolphins, she told her medical team. Treat them for pressure trauma and oxygen poisoning. They'll be fine. The battle was turning into a complete disaster for the Sectari. Admiral Thekvash watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by these unknown warriors. Half his ships were gone. The others were being boarded and captured. Who are these creatures? He demanded. His communication officer had been trying to analyze the enemy signals. Sir, they call themselves humans. They seem to come from a world called Earth. Never heard of them. Why are they attacking us? The officer listened to more intercepted communications. What he heard made his exoskeleton shiver with fear. Sir, they're not attacking us for territory or resources. They're attacking us because we threatened innocent civilians. They don't even know the Velthari personally. This concept was so foreign to Sectari, thinking that Thekvash couldn't understand it at first. Why would anyone risk their lives for strangers? What profit was there in protecting people you had never met? But as he watched his fleet being torn apart by these humans, he began to understand something terrible. These creatures fought harder for other people's children than the Sectari fought for their own lives. On the human flagship, Admiral Kang was receiving reports from all his commanders. The battle was almost over, but the rescue was just beginning. Civilian vessel secured, reported Colonel Bay. All Sectari boarders eliminated or captured. Velthari casualties are light. Fighter squadrons report all enemy ships disabled or destroyed, added Colonel Songri. Medical teams are treating wounded from both sides, Dr. Lim added. Even the Sectari prisoners are getting full medical care. Kang nodded with satisfaction. This was how humans fought wars, quickly, efficiently, and with honor toward everyone involved. In 4 hours, the entire Sectari raiding fleet was either space dust or in human custody. The mighty pirate force that had terrorized this region for years was completely destroyed by a colony expedition that just happened to be passing through. Not a single human ship was lost. Casualties were minimal. The rescued Velthari were safe and healthy. Captain Veltar floated in his ship's bridge, staring at the tactical display. The human fleet had appeared like a miracle and fought like demons. Now they were offering medical aid and protection without asking for anything in return. Liran, he said softly, send a message to the human fleet. Tell them the Velthari people will never forget what they did today. The reply came back quickly. You're welcome. Glad we could help. Stay safe out there. That was all. No demands for payment. No requests for territory or resources. Just simple human kindness from people who believed that innocent lives were worth risking everything to protect. The news traveled faster than any ship could fly. Within days, every civilized world in the galaxy had heard about the Deathworld intervention. Communication networks buzzed with reports, videos, and theories about the mysterious humans who had appeared from nowhere to save strangers. On the Hegemony Council Station, Ambassador Kilreth of the Zenthari studied the combat recordings for the 5th time. His tall, elegant form stood motionless in the council chambers as data flowed across holographic displays. The other council members watched in silence. 20 Sectari warships, Kilreth said in his melodic voice. Destroyed or captured in 4 hours by a colony fleet. Council member Raldon, whose rocky lithoid people had fought the Sectari many times, leaned forward. These humans must have incredible military technology, weapons we have never seen. That's not what worries me, replied Ambassador Taylor of the Mindari Collective. Her psychic abilities let her sense emotions across vast distances. I can feel the echo of their determination. They didn't fight for conquest or profit. They fought because someone needed help. The council chamber filled with nervous energy. Most galactic civilizations were practical. They helped their allies when it benefited them. They protected trade routes because they needed commerce. They followed treaties because breaking them cost money. But fighting strangers to save other strangers, risking everything for people you had never met. This was a new concept that scared many of the older species. Dr. Park Sun, the human diplomatic attaché, had been invited to address the council. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a calm voice. She stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy without fear. Honored council members, she began. I understand you have questions about my people's actions. Ambassador Kilrith spoke first. Dr. Park, your fleet risked 12,000 colonists to save 847 aliens. From a military standpoint, this makes no sense. What did you gain? Park thought carefully before answering. We gained the knowledge that 847 innocent people lived to see their families again. In human culture, that is enough. But what about the political implications? Pressed Council Member Raldon. Your intervention could destabilize the entire sector. With respect, sir, the sector was already unstable. The Sectari were raiding civilian ships with no one stopping them. We simply ended that threat. The questions continued for hours. The council members couldn't understand human motivation. Every galactic species had complex reasons for their actions. Humans seemed to act on simple principles that made no logical sense. Meanwhile, on the Velthari homeworld of Aquatica, the entire planet was celebrating. Captain Veltar had returned home as a hero, but he insisted the real heroes were the humans, who had saved his ship. The Velthari government held an emergency session of their High Tide Council. Prime Minister Welfin, an elderly Velthari with wisdom patterns covering his skin, addressed the assembly. Brothers and sisters of the deep. Currents, he announced. Today we declare the humans to be guardian brothers of the Velthari people. Any human vessel will find sanctuary in our waters. Any human in need will receive our aid. The decision was unanimous. Across Velthari space, military commanders received new orders. Treat human ships as family. Protect them as you would protect your own children. But the Velthari weren't the only ones taking notice of humanity's actions. In the criminal underworld, the news hit like a meteor. The Sectari had been one of the most feared pirate groups in 3 sectors. They had advanced weapons, experienced crews, and a reputation for extreme brutality. If humans could destroy them so easily, what else could they do? On the Smugglers, haven of Port Tortuga, crime bosses held emergency meetings. The station's bars and gambling halls buzzed with nervous conversation. I heard they didn't even slow down, whispered a Thraxian weapons dealer. Just changed course and went straight. At 20 warships. That's not the scary part, replied a Corvin spice runner. The scary part is why they did it. No profit, no territory, just because someone asked for help. Word spread quickly through the criminal networks. New rules appeared on job boards and pirate frequencies. Avoid any system where humans might be present. Do not engage human vessels under any circumstances. If you see humans responding to a distress call, run. The Sectari who had been captured were experiencing their own culture shock. Marine Corporal Joe Bin was assigned to guard the prisoners on the human fleet. Unlike most species, humans treated captured enemies with professional courtesy. I don't understand, clicked former Sectari warrior Kreshtal through his translator. Why do you feed us? Why do you treat our wounds? Joe Bin looked up from his duty reports. Because you're prisoners of war, not animals. Even enemies deserve basic decency. This concept was alien to the insectoid warrior. In Sectari culture, defeated enemies were killed or enslaved. The idea of showing mercy to someone who had tried to kill you seemed insane. But we attacked innocent civilians. We would have sold your people as slaves if we had captured them. I know, Joe replied calmly. That's why we stopped you. Dr. Yang Ha, the human medical officer treating wounded Sectari, was having similar conversations. Her patients couldn't understand why their enemies were giving them excellent medical care. Your warriors fight like demons, said injured Sectari trooper Hexmoth. But your healers treat us like we matter. Everyone matters, Dr. Yang replied as she checked his healing wounds. Even people who make bad choices deserve a chance to make better ones. The philosophical implications of human behavior were causing debates across the galaxy. Academic conferences were held to study this new species. Religious leaders wondered if humans were guided by divine purpose. Military strategists tried to understand how compassion could be turned into such effective tactics. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, alien merchants were already placing orders for human goods. If humans made such dedicated allies, their products must be valuable. If they fought so effectively for strangers, imagine what they would do for trading partners. Captain Veltar had been invited to speak at the Galactic Press Network's main studio. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds watched as he told his story. The humans didn't know us, he said, his patterns showing deep gratitude. They had never seen Velthari before. They had no reason to risk their lives for us, but when they heard our distress call, they came immediately. The interviewer, a crystalline shard being named Crystal, asked the question everyone wanted answered. Captain, in your opinion, why did they help you? Veltar was quiet for a long moment. I think, he said finally, humans are what the rest of us could be if we were braver. Intelligence reports began filtering through government channels. Every major power in the galaxy wanted to know more about these humans. Where did they come from? How many ships did they have? What were their intentions? The answers they found were both reassuring and terrifying. Humans came from a Class 12 death world, a planet so dangerous that most species considered it uninhabitable. They had only recently developed space travel. Their fleet was small, just a few dozen ships, but they had something no other species possessed: the absolute certainty that protecting innocent life was worth any sacrifice. Former pirates and raiders found themselves unemployed as their employers decided the risk was too great. Cargo ships began changing their routes to pass through systems where humans might be present. Distress beacons included new codes specifically designed to reach human receivers. In the halls of power and the depths of space, one truth became clear: the galaxy had changed. There was a new force among the stars, and that force would always answer when good people called for help. The age of humanity had begun, not with conquest or expansion, but with 17 ships that heard someone cry for help and refused to look the other way. 6 months after the rescue, the human colony fleet finally reached their destination. The world they had named New Prosperity hung in space like a blue and green jewel. It had good air, clean water, and fertile soil. Everything the 12,000 colonists needed to build new lives. But as their ships approached the planet, Captain Park discovered they were not alone. "Sir," reported Communication Officer Lee Hyun, "I'm counting 47 ships in orbit. They're from at least 12 different species." Park stared at the tactical display in amazement. Ships from across the galaxy waited around their new world. Velthari research vessels floated next to Zenthari diplomatic craft. Corvin merchant ships docked with lithoid mining platforms. Even some species he had never heard of were represented. Admiral Kang's voice came over the communication system from the Busan Rising. "Captain Park, we're receiving hundreds of messages. They all say the same thing. These people came here looking for us." The first message Captain Park opened was from a Mindari refugee ship. The psychic beings were fleeing a civil war on their homeworld. They had heard about the humans who protected innocent people and traveled across the galaxy seeking sanctuary. The second message came from Theran traders who wanted to establish peaceful commerce with the legendary Deathworlders. They offered advanced technology in exchange for human protection during their travels through dangerous space. The third message was from a group of mixed species who called themselves the Galactic Rescue Coordination Network. They wanted to work with humans to help save people across multiple sectors. Park realized that by answering one distress call, humanity had accidentally announced itself as a guardian species. People across the galaxy now saw humans as protectors who could be trusted to do the right thing. "What do we do, sir?" asked Kimnari. "We came here to build farms and cities. We're colonists, not galactic peacekeepers." Park looked out at all the ships waiting for them. Each one represented people who believed humans would help them, families who had traveled across the galaxy seeking protection, traders who wanted honest partners, refugees who needed sanctuary. "We do both," he decided. "We build our colony and we help people who need help. That's what humans do." Admiral Kang established the first Human Defense Coordination Center in orbit around New Prosperity. The space station was built from parts donated by grateful alien species. Velthari engineers worked alongside human technicians. Zenthari provided advanced computers while lithoid miners contributed raw materials. Commander Yoon Ai became the center's chief of operations. Her job was to coordinate rescue missions across 3 sectors of space. The center received dozens of distress calls every day: pirates attacking merchant ships, natural disasters threatening colonies, explorers lost in dangerous nebulas. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Kang during their weekly meeting, "we have 17 active rescue operations, 8 pirate attacks, 5 medical emergencies, 3 ships lost in asteroid fields, and 1 first contact situation gone wrong." Kang reviewed the mission reports. Human ships were scattered across light years of space, helping people they had never met. It was exactly what he expected from his people. Dr. Lim. So opened the galaxy's first interspecies medical facility on the surface of New Prosperity. The hospital was built to treat patients from hundreds of different worlds. Velthari with pressure injuries, Zenthari with psychological trauma, lithoid with mineral poisoning. Human medicine, adapted to survive on one of the galaxy's most dangerous worlds, proved uniquely effective at treating conditions other species considered fatal. Dr. Lim's success rate with emergency cases amazed alien physicians across the galaxy. "Doctor," asked her Velthari assistant Dr. Mulrin, "how do human medical techniques work so well on non-human patients?" Dr. Lim smiled as she treated a Corvan trader who had been poisoned by space pirates. "On Earth, we had to learn to fix every kind of injury quickly. Broken bones, poisoning, blood loss, organ damage. Our world tried to kill us in every way possible. Now that knowledge helps us save lives from other worlds." The colony itself was growing rapidly. Human families built homes and farms alongside alien settlers who had chosen to make New Prosperity their home. Children from dozen species played together in the colony's schools. Markets sold goods from across the galaxy, but the most important change was happening in the hearts and minds of galactic civilization. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, merchant captain Zoltar was planning his next cargo run through a dangerous sector known for pirate activity. 6 months ago, he would have paid protection money to criminals or avoided the area completely. Now he had another option. "Send a message to the Human Defense Coordination Center," he told his communication officer. "Tell them our route and schedule. Ask if any human ships will be in the area." The reply came within hours. "Human patrol ship Sol's Promise will escort your convoy through the danger zone. No payment required. Stay safe, friends." This was becoming common across the galaxy. Human ships escorted peaceful traders, investigated distress signals, and responded to emergencies. They never asked for payment or territory. They just helped because help was needed. The psychological effect on galactic civilization was profound. For thousands of years, most species had accepted that evil sometimes won. Pirates raided, tyrants oppressed, and innocent people died while everyone else calculated the cost of getting involved. But humans had changed that equation. They showed the galaxy that someone would always answer when good people called for help. Former pirates and raiders found their traditional hunting grounds empty. Merchant ships traveled in convoy with human escorts. Colonies installed communication equipment designed to reach human frequencies. Even the threat of human intervention was enough to make many criminals find new careers. The story reached its climax when a new distress signal reached the Human Defense Coordination Center. Commander Yoon A received the message during her night shift. This is Captain Morhai of the science vessel Deep Explorer. We are under attack by automated defense systems left over from the ancient predecessor war. Our ship is heavily damaged. We have 200 civilians on board, including families. The machines will not respond to communication. Please, if anyone receives this message, we need immediate assistance. Yoon I checked the location. The Mortai were a peaceful species of explorers who studied ancient civilizations. Their ship was 3 days away from the nearest human patrol. The automated weapon systems they had triggered were legendary, ancient machines that had destroyed entire fleets during the predecessor war. Most species would have written off the Mortai as lost. The risk was too great, the distance too far, the enemy too dangerous. But these were humans. Within 1 hour, Admiral Kang had assembled a rescue fleet. The Busan Rising led 3 other human warships toward the battle zone. Captain Park volunteered, the New Soul and 2 other colony ships with their improvised weapons. Engineering teams worked around the clock to modify human weapons for fighting ancient war machines. Marine units practiced assault tactics for boarding automated ships. Medical teams prepared for casualties from energy weapons that hadn't been used in 1,000 years. As the rescue fleet launched from New Prosperity, Captain Park stood on his bridge and watched the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, 200 innocent people were fighting for their lives against machines programmed to kill everything they detected. The humans were coming. They were coming fast and determined and ready to fight ancient weapons of mass destruction, with nothing more than their absolute refusal to let good people die while they could do something about it. Chief Engineer Choi Dae worked beside his mixed alien and human crew, preparing their improvised weapons for a battle against technology they barely understood. "Sir," called out a young Velthari technician, "these machines have been fighting for 1,000 years. They've destroyed ships much more advanced than ours." Choi smiled as he checked the power readings on their modified mining laser. "Maybe, but they've never fought humans before, and humans don't know when to quit." Behind them, New Prosperity continued to grow. Human families worked beside alien neighbors to build a world where different species could live together in peace. Children played games that mixed traditions from a dozen worlds. Markets sold food and art from across the galaxy. But when someone, somewhere, called for help, the humans would always answer. They would cross any distance, fight any enemy, pay any price to make sure that innocent people had someone who cared about their lives. In the vastness of space, the human rescue fleet flew toward their next mission. They were no longer just colonists seeking a new home. They had become the guardians of a galaxy that had forgotten what it meant to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The age of humanity among the stars had begun with a simple principle. When someone calls for help, you answer. It didn't matter who they were, where they came from, or what the cost might be. You answered because that's what it meant to be human. And across the galaxy, that simple truth was changing everything.